G'day watchers, welcome back to the channel. Today I have a new brand, Creux Automatiq Swiss made, which some people actually had brought up to me before, but I'm glad that they reached out and lent me this watch for collaboration. So this is the nice outer cardboard box here, pretty well balanced. I like my boxes to be balanced to be able to spin it. So let's just open it up and show it to you guys. Before we get into that, there's a 2-year warranty card here, Swiss made certificate, if that was important to you. Probably most people just have to take it on spec that, the watch says Swiss made, means it follows all the rules to have that stamped on the dial if it's indeed made in Switzerland. So just going to show this to you guys, a simple manual. It's a 3-hander watch, as you can see, so you don't really need to read much more. At least I don't tend to read much more into the manuals here. Okay, so getting more into the case here, so there's this felt protection, and let's just get the actual box out of the case here. And you can see it is in piano black, which I kind of like. I like piano black boxes. It gives you that that faux luxury feel to it. Creux Automatiq on the outside, and let's just show you the watch. Okay, there it is. Take it out of the cushion, and just going to put that box aside there, out of the way. Okay, so here it is. What we have in hand today is indeed the Creux Automatiq Diamondback. This model is the CA-06. They do come in other models, including two-tone with gold, but this is, the black dial one, which I kind of chose myself specifically. I really liked this specific color variation. I didn't quite want the two-tone gold. So MSRP on the site, without any discount, is $1850 USD. So yep, it is on the higher side of a newer brand, but let's just get into it and see what you guys will think about this specific watch. So firstly, let's talk about the movement in here. So the movement is a Swisstech CA-24-041, and as far as I get looking at the pictures, it's based on an ETA 2824 or one of those variation of movements. Presumably they've kind of taken a lot of the base off there, but they've obviously modified it. It's 33 joules, which is higher than definitely an ETA 2824 and much of its variations. The power reserve is 36 hours, as you see there. In this case, the quick set date is implemented on the 3 o'clock window, bordered by that kind of polished silver circle there, white writing on a black disc, as you see on the picture that I show you here. The rated accuracy, Creux actually don't state it, but Swisstech do state that their movements are typically rated at plus or minus 12 seconds per day. This one in actual use is pretty good. It has been performing about plus 7 seconds per day over the week that I've had it, so I'm actually quite pleased with that. Okay, so getting into the case here. The case is 40 millimeters, so the actual case time, so if you actually just measure the case itself without the crown guards, is 40 millimeters exactly. It is actually coated in a 1.2 micron coating, which is scratch resistant, and I gotta say, this has come from another reviewer, as I understand it, and it is still in pristine condition. So perhaps that those coatings actually do work. They do actually prevent micro scratches from occurring. 316L steel, of course, and the thickness is 10.5 millimeters, right? That's that side profile, so pretty thin for an ETA based type of watch. 26 millimeters is the widest position of the bracelet on the case here. I think the lug width in this case is not really meaningful, because you can see it's proprietary and you wouldn't really be changing this bracelet out for a NATO or anything like that. The lug to lug distance, if I measure right there, right between my thumbs there, is actually 47 millimeters. So pretty decent, and not too big, and certainly will fit most men's wrists well enough. Okay, let's just talk about finishing. So finishing, the top of the watch is longitudinal brushing. Hopefully you can appreciate that as I let the light go over the wash here, and it's also longitudinal on that bevel edge there going into the bracelet, as well as the side is kind of horizontal or longitudinal, if you will. The bottom of the case is circular brushing. Not sure if that's going to come through, but it's actually a circular brushing on the bottom of the case there. There are polished bits, so you can see the side of the bezel right? Side surface as well as bevel, as well as that 45-degree bevel there is polished. Okay, so nice transitions, pretty well done, I must say. You know, they're certainly better than you know, cheaper watches that I've had on the channel. This is, you know, it is definitely approaching the asking price that they've stated. And then that crown guard is what they call eclipse shape, something that they kind of came up with themselves, and then apparently it's a bit of a signature for theirs. Does have differential finishing of polish and brush as well, so pretty well done overall in terms of the finishing here. The case back, as you know, saw me pan over there, is a screw-in or screw-down display case back, showing that fairly nice, you know, gold rotor there that they've kind of customized onto the movement. Right, screw-in display case back, screw-in sign crown. It's got certainly the brand signage there. The rating, actually, they've only gone for 50-meter water resistance. So, you know, ostensibly this shouldn't be taken underwater for swimming. But, you know, I gotta say, with this construction, perhaps they could have pushed that a bit further, like give us 100 meters so you're not afraid of getting this wet in a pool. All right, let's just move on to the dial, where a lot of the action indeed is, and let's just look at that. Look at that as the light falls over the dial there, how it plays on those facets. So this dial is a black diamond textured dial, crafted from what is described as a single sheet of brass. It's layered with a tinted lacquer with a fume effect, meaning that in the middle it's slightly lighter and it gets more black as you go towards the periphery of the watch. The brand is printed in a bit of a relief text. There's a bit of a kind of a 3D effect on the text here. I don't think it's actually applied, but there's a bit of 3D-ness to it. It does have applied polished indices at least 11 of the 12 positions around the dial. And it's got a gold small seconds ring, gold PVD at least, that you can see there on the 6 o'clock position. It does have a printed chapter ring which sits around the periphery of the dial. The hands are polished steel pencil style hands, if you will. You know, let me know what you would call that, but I think some people would call those pencil style hands. It's got lume on all the indices as well as the main hands, not the second hand, but you know, the main hand, so you can tell the time in the dark. And of course, I'll put a lume shot as usual for you guys to appreciate how it looks like in the dark here. The bezel is fixed, right? And you can see it certainly takes inspiration from the likes of Hublot. It's got those 6 face screws there, and I think they're real face screws because they are all orientated in different positions there. So those 6 face screws you can see as I hold it in front of you for you to appreciate how the light plays on the polished surface or the brush surface of the bezel there. On top of the dial, flat sapphire crystal with anti-reflective coating is what you have here. Okay, let's move on to the bracelet. Right, the bracelet, also another part of focus and action. So brush steel for most of it, overlapping, and you can see how it overlaps those central polished hexagonal shapes there. So it's pretty nicely done, I have to say. 26 millimeters where the case is, but it tapers down to 18 millimeters at the narrowest portion. It does have those solid end links, so this kind of narrow end links that you can see there. It is, however, just push pin adjustment and a friction deployant or butterfly deployant class, if you will, with what is really just a pressed metal keeper with the brand name on it. I wish they could have changed that a bit. That could have been better in terms of making maybe just a solid connection, push button release perhaps, with the brand name just over there rather than this keeper. That's my feeling about this. Okay, so that's the watch description. Let's just snap it on to the wrist for the wrist shot for you guys here. So there we have it, the Creux Automatiq. Remember, it's 40mm diameter watch with 47mm lug to lug distance on my 17cm wrist. Fits absolutely fine. I really have enjoyed the look of this watch on the wrist over the last week, and it's actually quite attractive. It really has attracted quite a few comments in terms of people noticing it and asking what this watch actually is. Okay guys, so that's the entire description of the watch. What have I really enjoyed about Creux Automatiq? Well, look, I think it's really a quality package. It's quite a good quality package, interesting, highly spec Swiss movement. I don't really know much about the long-term reliability of Swisstech, but it's ETA based, or at least the actual shape is from ETA, and it's got a higher jewel count. So I like that they've gone for a bit of a different movement. I haven't seen Swisstech before, It's got very good case finishing. You know, I think, you know, is it as good as any other brand at this level? I'd say it's probably on par with, you know, the likes of Longines, for example, which has many watches around this price range. Right, so pretty good case finishing and some uniqueness in that lovely, you know, diamondback, and that's where the name comes from, is the rattlesnake, diamondback rattlesnake inspired dial there. It really does play with the light quite interestingly. So a lot of interesting points in here. I think the bracelet, whilst it's not entirely original, I believe this is inspired by a Vacheron Constantin 222 reference here. You know, so they've taken that inspiration from Vacheron Constantin, but they've implemented it pretty well. You know, the execution is pretty good, integrated with the case there pretty nicely, right? It's kind of contiguous and seamless to the case there. And overall, the watch is comfortable thanks to the bracelet. It's stylish and is pretty attractive in appearance. Good overall size as well, I would say. You know, 40 millimeters is a great size, and you can pretty much live with this day to day, maybe even more so if they push that to 100-meter water resistant. The concerns, right, the negatives, the things I have concerns about for this watch, it's a somewhat inspired / homage / derivative design. Some people have accused them of being a copy of AP and Hublot, and yes, it is kind of a cross between a Royal Oak and a Hublot Big Bang, right? I think they've taken elements of, you know, from those two main you know, iconic pieces plus that VC bracelet here. So it's not 100% original, but look, I think they have kind of tried to do their own thing here. Let me know your thoughts about the derivativeness of this watch or not, depending on how you feel about it. And then lastly, I will point out that you know, this thing I think certainly can be improved on, and I like to see them improve on that. This is not necessary. It does have a bit of a cheap feel to it, in contrast with the rest of the watch, which is pretty premium, I have to say. Is the value proposition of question? I think it will be, right? I think as a new brand, as a micro brand, if you will, you know, they have to come up with something special, which means either special materials or special design. I think they do have some special design to this, you know, that there's some originality. And the material wise, well, you know, I think that dial has some attractiveness in terms of that crafting out of brass. So they have something special here, but is it enough? I think a lot of you will question the value proposition at the price they're asking for. So we would love to hear your thoughts about how you feel about this particular brand. Definitely, it does have a premium feel to it, but you know, is it worth this price to you? Let me know in the comments below. So guys, there you go. That's my review of the Creux Automatiq Diamondback CA-06. Would love to hear what you think, or in fact, if you've had any particular dealings with Creux Automatiq as a company. Guys, if you enjoy my videos, do consider subscribing. New content every week, always aiming to be objective and unbiased about all things horology. Thank you again for sticking with me, and as always, I'll catch you guys next time.